Discovery Weekly.
Welcome to Discovery Weekly, a show by the podcast Discovery Show because we just could not get enough discovering, so we needed more, where we discover all kinds of things throughout the week. I'm Zach.
I'm Kirk.
And I'm Matt.
And I read about something that the Duke University, also known as Duke University, they made a smart toilet. And by smart toilet, I mean they have put brains in a toilet. And they do this because of how difficult it is to regularly check your stool. And then also how important it is because of the amount of problems that can be diagnosed just by your poop. So they set out, Dr. Sonia Grego is one of the researchers working on the smart toilet at Duke University Center for Water, Sanitation, Hygiene, and Infectious Diseases. And apparently they're made fun of a lot because they're working on a toilet.
And sounds like a crappy job.
Literally the quote, "I'm working on a toilet. My friends and family, of course, laugh about that. And that's what I'm focusing my energy on." So, and I'll just read you a question that Dr. Kaplan has. How often do you have a bowel movement? What's the consistency of the bowel movement? Is it hard, loose, watery, lumpy? Lumpy is a terrible word for this. That's added. That wasn't a direct quote. Is there blood in the stool? And then Dr. Kaplan follows up by saying the majority of people don't look at their stool quite that closely. So it can be a bit difficult to get that history sometimes. But these histories are vitally important to diagnosing certain diseases. So they're making a toilet that takes all the guesswork and the self-imposed stool monitoring out of this process. And so what it is there is a fingerprint reader on the toilet. Don't get the wrong idea. There's a fingerprint reader on there to make sure that they know who the person is. And then things happen. And then it goes to a special category in the bag.
Things happen. Explain.
The poop happens. And then it goes into the back. And there is stool immobilization and imaging plus an AI algorithm. And then it goes to a hands-free biomarker analysis and then disposal of the sample. And it's just the goofiest thing. Because I remember in Scrubs, this was a whole bit, Dr. Toilet, where that was the whole purpose of it. And it's an actual thing now. And so basically, each time the patient goes to the bathroom, it captures a picture of the patient's stool as it travels through the stewage. And data is collected with each flush. That's terrible. I hate that image. The artificial intelligence analyzes it, and over time, the technology can tell what is normal, what's abnormal. And so as everything gets smarter, this will make it so that you can collect a ton of very important information about patients at the hospital without having to actually do more manpower work. It's literally just a computer doing it.
This sounds silly at first. And then you have to get past the poop jokes. And then you kind of think about it and you're like, wait a second. This is probably a really good idea there's places that ask for stool samples. This is probably way easier to do it than pooping in a cup.
Yeah, no, as far as personal collection, I would much rather use Dr. Toilet. And I mean,
rather use Dr. Toilet.
They're calling it Smart Toilet. I think they missed an opportunity. It should be Dr. Toilet. Mm-hmm. But in the end, yes, this seems like it's a win-win for everybody. If doctors can just have a smart toilet in there.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt doctors want to go through poop.
It seems like taking everybody out of this equation is a win for everybody. Just make Dr. Toilet do it.
I do also like to imagine that doctors' offices can just looks like Zach took a poop.
No, they can. Yeah, they could. And so, I mean, there is that element of then we have to worry about the privacy of the data collection here.
Because at first I was thinking this is at someone's house. Like you have a Dr. Toilet at your house. And I was like, that doesn't really make sense.
It's just somebody calls you after the dinner party and they're like, I have really bad news. You need to go to a doctor immediately. You have, I don't know enough doctor terms to sound smart here.
Sorry.
Thanks. 12 days to live.
Yeah.
Thanks 12 days to live.
The casserole was great, but you don't have long.
I actually saved that bottle of wine you left. I felt bad even drinking it after. Yeah, I'll give it back to you. I'm really sorry.
You have it. Well, speaking on.
I'm waiting for the segue on this one. That is not set up for a segue to pretty much anything.
I believe in you.
Speaking of shitty days, I don't know.
Perfect.
Dang it.
That's not bad.
You were so close to sticking the landing. Where are you?
Well,
I don't know.
Believe it or not, my discovery actually does have to do with the landing. So that's a pretty good segue.
There it is.
Set me up there. So my discovery today is about this guy named Thomas Fitzpatrick, who was a pilot. I'm just going to read this story. This is a Wikipedia article. I found him and then I searched him and figured out the story. I'm just going to read it because it's quite a wild ride. All right. So at approximately 3 a.m. on September 30th, 1956, Fitzpatrick, while intoxicated, stole a single-engine plane from the Teterboro School of Aeronautics at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey and flew without lights or radio before landing on St. Nicholas Avenue near 191st Street in front of a New York City bar where he earlier had been drinking and made an intoxicated bet that he could travel from New Jersey to New York City in 15 minutes.
Amazing.
It gets even better. All right. For this flight, he was fined $100 after the plane owner refused to press charges. I'm not sure why and why it was that little.
Respect, man. Just respect.
Yeah. I just picture the judge going through, son, you stole an airplane out of Teterboro Airport. You flew without lights or radio and then landed on 191st Street, all for a bet. And he's like, yes, sir. It's like, damn straight.
Like that's serious. That's serious.
But check this out. So on October 4th, 1958, just before 1 a.m., Fitzpatrick, again intoxicated, stole another plane from the same airfield and landed on Amsterdam and 187th Street in front of a Yeshiva University building after another bar patron disbelieved his first feat.
Well, I'll do it again. Yeah. I'm not scared.
So for his second stolen flight, he was sentenced to 6 months in prison.
Eventually, they're like, we got to stop this dude or he's going to do this every weekend.
Yes. Fitzpatrick blamed, his quote is, "It's the lousy drink that caused him to pull the stunt." This is the 50s,
when was
by
this
the way.
again?
Yeah.
So,
It's that lousy drink, son.
When was this again? 50. That's not as long ago as I would have thought based off of this story.
there was less traffic in New York, but still not none.
Yeah, they actually added traffic so this would stop happening. They were like, we can't have this. Come
it's
on,
really
man.
roundabout, but it probably worked.
Could you imagine if I was like, and on his third flight, no, he only did it twice. But I thought this guy's pretty awesome for just betting someone something that had nothing to do with stealing an airplane and landing it on the street, but was the only way he thought he could do it.
No, my favorite is the second one where I guarantee is like, yeah, somebody bet me one time. They're like, yeah, right. Get out of here. It's like, well, hold on. Give me 15 minutes.
Give me 15 minutes.
And then you just see a plane pull up. All of the imagery of this is
it sounds like it had to have happened in Florida. Like, that's the thing. Is it sounds like a Florida story.
It does.
It does. But I also really like that. For some reason, I can't tell if it's funnier if he were to have done his second flight into the same bar, or it's funnier that he went to a different place. Like it was a different place altogether. Yeah. He's like, hold on, I'll be right back at both different places.
I'll show you idiots. I'm going to go steal a plane.
And that's Thomas Fitzpatrick.
Respect, Thomas Fitzpatrick. So I learned this week about BACA, which is Bikers Against Child Abuse. It's a fascinating story that I found, and this is a Wikipedia article, but it talks about this organization. It's a charitable worldwide motorcycle organization which is built from biker community members. Their intended purpose is to empower abused children. BACA was founded in 1995 in Utah. The organization states that it exists with the intent to create a safer environment for abused children. The founder states, "My goal is to make it so there's a BACA chapter in every neighborhood." So basically, what they do, which I found was fascinating, was they will go to these abused children's homes or like bullied kids, and they will escort them from school to home or vice versa. They will literally stay at their home, outside their homes overnight if they're in fear of, the abuser coming to their home. It's basically like, I don't know. It's fascinating. It says the parents or guardians of victims of abuse are the ones who first contact BACA. BACA then confirms that the authorities have been contacted before meeting with the family in order to see what the situation is and if it is something that they can get involved with. They do not get involved with domestic issues, so it's got to be like outside of the family. After contact is established, 2 bikers, 1 male and 1 female, who may or may not live near the child, act as primary contact for the child and their family. The 2 bikers then visit the family in the 2 months after first contact on an ongoing basis and notify the BACA child liaison of any specific needs the child might have. The members may also attend court proceedings for the children or escort them to school or errands. A statement given by North Wasatch Chapter Security Officer Ish? Okay. Describes, in short, their process. BACA is kind of like barbed wire. And I love how it's a Wikipedia article, so they censored it. Stay the expletive away from us. Stay the expletive away from our kids. You'll probably be okay. You get too close, you're going to get tore the expletive up. Each year, some BACA chapters hold balloon release events for Child Abuse Awareness Month. I just thought it was a fascinating thing I did not know exists, and it's worldwide, literally like all over the world. That's exists.
Crazy. That's so awesome.
Yeah, and that's an amazing organization.
They say that they have all types of individuals. They have doctors, lawyers, mechanics, school principals, social workers, teachers, and truck drivers. All these types of people that have been part of the group or are part of the group. Each member undergoes 40 to 50 hours of training to better help support victims. Those wishing to become involved with BACA must first be a supporter in good standing for a minimum of 1 year. Before becoming a supporter, a person must be at least 18 years of age, be fingerprinted, and have an extensive background check performed according to federal and local laws and customs, and must own or have access to a motorcycle. I love how that's part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it's their first word in the acronym.
Yep.
But it's fascinating. It's a fascinating thing when you're always hearing bad things about, motorcycle gangs. Well, this is like a motorcycle gang that's trying to protect children that are victims of abuse, and I just think that it's a fascinating discovery.
That's awesome because they're like vigilantes, but like badass ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not like, oh, we're gonna stop people from robbing people. It's like, hell yeah, no one can disagree with ending child abuse or something.
Yeah, no, just protecting kids is that's a hard one for anybody to argue with, I'd say.
Well, I don't know. I feel like there's people in politics that might not.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I'm sure, but I will say this.
Matt started on politicians.
Don't you start me.
I'll say this. Anybody that would disagree with what they're up to, I probably would disagree with them. That's how I would flip it on. I'd be like, if you don't like them, I don't like you.
There you go.
So I don't even know how I found this article, but I saw this article about how all different animals are sleeping. So for humans,
that sounds fascinating. Actually,
for humans, and apparently other great apes are also similar to how we sleep. It's called monophasic. So we sleep in one long interval, during a 24-hour period. Bonobos, chimpanzees, gorillas, and orangutans also, they build sleeping platforms in trees so that they can do the same thing. They build like beds up there. Gorillas will sleep for up to 12 hours, but orangutans get around 8 hours like humans do. Some other primates, there's another type of sleep called polyphasic, where there's different types of sleep throughout a 24-hour cycle. So dogs have a wake sleep cycle of about 83 minutes and get a little more than 10 and a half hours of sleep per 24-hour days. And that's in like hour increments, which is wild. And I mean, I've read something where they think that dogs do that because they wanted to get sleep as often as they could, but be able to wake up on a dime. That's why, like, if anything happens in your house, your dog wakes up immediately, because that's just like how their evolutionary process went, and they just got so they were hyper focused when they needed to be, and then just slept all the rest of the time. And then basically monkeys don't sleep like we do, because monkeys have to balance on branches where they have to be like kind of like dogs, where they have to wake up quick because everything's trying to kill them. But great apes are so large that they had less predators and they could kind of sleep for a longer amount of time. And they also essentially they got so big that they couldn't sleep on branches, because if like a gorilla tried to sleep up in a tree, it's going to like break the tree down. And so they essentially would build shelters of like rudimentary shelters. They weren't building like a house or anything, but they built somewhere where they could sleep. And so they were able to do that. And then there's things like dolphins are alert 24 hours a day their entire lives. Dolphins
That's the kind
sleep.
of thing that I was always fascinated about is
Yeah.
like fish in particular. Like, how do they sleep?
Well, you're about to find out. So dolphins and other cetaceans, manatees, eared seals, and some birds do something called unihemispheric slow wave sleep, which means they don't ever get to REM sleep, but they turn off half of their brain at a time and sleep with half of their brain.
That is insane.
So dolphins are only sleeping with one half at a time, and so we don't really know what this means exactly. This is like, because honestly, brain scans, that's fairly new. So any of this information is very recent, and we don't really know how that like affects their like consciousness and like how asleep they actually are. We just have seen that their hemispheres will turn off, like alternating, so that they can sleep. And then also birds can do the same thing. Is it frigate birds? They fly for months over the ocean. So there's some birds like the albatross that literally will fly for months. And how they sleep, they have regular sleep, and then half the time they'll like use half their brain, and they'll do the half the brain kind because they will feel an air current. And if the air current's pushing them up, they'll take a little nap, just because they're like naturally being raised. And so they'll just be like, oh, this is a good time to sleep. And then also like they're the same type of thing. Anything that's a prey animal has to be able to wake up on a dime. So they sleep differently. But like on land, birds will get 12 hours a day in 1 minute bursts.
What?
Which is crazy. And fur seals, they sleep with one side of the brain while they're swimming, but on land, they sleep with their entire brains like humans. And then it basically was just so interesting to see kind of how all this happens. So fruit flies sleep. They sleep for 12 straight hours in total darkness. And if they are sleep deprived, if a fruit fly doesn't get enough sleep, they'll sleep more next time. And so it's just like there's all these like random little things that are just so interesting. And because how would you even know? And then like bats sleep for 20 hours in a 24-hour sleep cycle, but they forage for mosquitoes, and mosquitoes are only like heavily populating the area 4 hours a day. So they literally sleep when there's not mosquitoes. And
That's
so a lot of these things are direct responses to the ways that they live, to like how they're hunting or to like how they're able to survive while doing it. So it was just this mind-blowing article to read about how all this works. And that doesn't even count like hibernation, because we just talked about a couple weeks ago that the brood X cicadas, so all these cicadas busted out of here, and that was like 13 years in hibernation. And so the vast majority of these, they lower their metabolic rate so that they can survive winters. That's what bears do. They load up on food so that they can just sleep through what is normally very harsh conditions with very little food available. And essentially when you're doing this, you drop your body temperature and your metabolic rate and essentially just minimal life. You're on like basically like a coma. You're in a coma for the entire time this is happening. And then apparently there's a hummingbird that can do this. And they go from 1,200 beats per minute of their heartbeat to as low as 50 during when they're shutting it down. So if you think about that, like proportionally, like you would think that humans were
insane.
dead. And so it's just so crazy to me how all these animals are so different. And then they have a quote in here that like, large herbivores like elephants and giraffes, they need to forage so much they only sleep for about 2 hours because the rest of the time is just eating. And giraffes don't sleep like at all laying down because one of the last quotes in here is if a giraffe slept like we do, prone and unconscious, there would be no more giraffes. And so it's just so crazy how all of these different animals have fit like a very specific like need, and that has fully developed like how they sleep, how they rest.
One of the interesting things that I learned about giraffes last time I went to the zoo that I thought was really cool is that I never really thought about it, but they have like these special like arteries / capillaries that hold their blood in because they're always putting their head down, and their neck is so long that when they lift their head up, if it was like ours, then they would just like pass out every time they lifted their head up. And so they have like these like special like almost like valves that close so it holds their head, the blood to their head rather than let it rush to their head immediately.
The visual of a giraffe just passing every time he lifts his head is funny to me. Not that I want them to be injured, but it is funny.
I wish that wasn't
but
the
I
case.
never would have thought about that,
I want to see a bunch of giraffes just passing out. Like, hey, giraffe, what?
Yep, just out like those fainting goats, just falling over.
Oh, Lord. Dude, that's crazy. I can't even, I have to like come at you with a list of things. Now I'm just going to Google, like, if I ever think of an animal that I'm like,
how does that this feels like a question that either my son would ask me or that I would have asked my dad when I was a kid. Hey, Daddy, how does a hummingbird sleep?
How does a fish sleep?
Yeah. The answer would be, how do you think? I don't know. Google
it.
I don't know. Well, my next up on the list, because I got a good segue there.
It's you, my friend.
Just kidding. I do not have a good segue.
Your segue is how bad the segue is.
Exactly. That's all you have to do is you go, I don't have a segue, but speaking of segues.
Here's my segue.
Here's the next thing. So I asked you guys if you had heard about this because I was like, has this been covered? Because this is absolutely insane. It is not really a conspiracy theory. It is more like a scientific theory, but obviously one that doesn't have a ton of evidence-based observations. Now, this I had a hard time finding this, but this is to find this. You can. What I Googled was Nick Hinton. It's a Twitter thread at Nick Hinton with 2 N's. And he said that he was looking for this and he couldn't find it anywhere. So he kind of aggregated everything here, and it's pretty nicely laid out. Take some left turns here and there, but fun stuff. So here's the conspiracy. The world ended in 2012. Totally ended. All right. We know.
Okay, wait. I already got to stop you.
Yeah.
So you asked us about if we remembered the conspiracy theory about the world ending in 2012.
Not quite the one that you were thinking of. Yeah. Not the
this
Mayan
is not
calendar
what I was
thing.
Thinking about.
Yeah.
This is what I.
This is supposedly what the Mayan calendar may have indicated.
So what you're saying is this theory is that the world has ended. It's over.
Is done.
It's done. Okay.
It ended 2012.
I need to learn more. I need to learn more now. Go on. Proceed.
This is fun. All right. Let me get to the first.
I'm so intrigued already.
Dude, I'm telling you. So he says he can't remember the first time that he heard this theory, but it's become somewhat of a meme. So it leapt from like not being taken seriously to taken seriously to not taken seriously. So here it is. And I'm going to quote him a bunch. So anytime there's an I in there, I don't want anybody to be like, what? I am not experiencing any of this stuff. So 2012 was the year that scientists at CERN finally found the Higgs boson particle, the particle that Stephen Hawking predicted could destroy the universe, or in his own words, cause the universe to undergo a catastrophic vacuum of decay. So you guys know that particle hadron collider.
Mhm.
That's where they fit. That was the year they turned it on and ran the test. Okay. So what would happen if we destroyed?
I found a new discovery about they use ferrets to clean that thing.
Huh?
They send ferrets in there. I don't remember what they do, but they like
With
that's
little-
what they use to clean that thing.
Brooms.
That's one of my discoveries that I have for the Facebook group soon.
They duct tape sponges on them
I
on
don't
all
know what they do.
sides.
I forget, but it was a fascinating article about how they clean the Hadron Collider.
I'm going to
with
have to read
ferrets.
that.
That's so weird. Okay, so he says that there's this old cliche argument that nothing has felt right since 2012. And he says, he admits,
He's
I
not
agree
wrong
with this.
there.
Yeah. He says he agrees with this. Maybe it has something to do with growing up and getting older.
Yeah.
But ever since then, it seems like the world has descended more and more into chaos. And time feels like it's flying. Of course, that's super subjective. He goes on to say that there's a calamity happening almost daily, mass shootings and crazy stuff like that. 2012 was really when this crazy mass shooting wave really like took off. Again, these are all little things. But like he said before, he believes that we live in a series of simulations. Perhaps the universe was destroyed by CERN, and our collective consciousness has moved into a parallel universe next door. And he says that it would be almost identical to ours that we know. And this is where it gets interesting. So you guys have heard about the Mandela effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he is saying that this alternate reality theory is what is causing this. So the Berenstain Bears, some people remember Febreze with two E's rather than one. Some remember Skechers without a T, with a T, JCPenney with an E at the end or not. And Nelson Mandela, everyone thought he was dead.
I don't know what the right answer to any of those things that you just said are either.
I know, right?
I think that all of
clue.
those things are probably things that I probably would think is a Mandela effect. Because
it's wild. So then he says, it came from Nelson Mandela. Everybody thought that he died in prison in the 80s. And then there was a huge national funeral for him in 2013 when he, and everyone's
actually
like,
died.
Okay. But this is where it gets really creepy, is what he says. Some people remember the Statue of Liberty being in a totally different location. That location being Ellis Island. And it's actually on Liberty Island. And then he goes and shows a picture of, here's a painting clearly depicting the statue at Ellis Island with no other islands nearby. He says, was the artist not paying attention? Did he just like it better this way? I really don't think so. And then he includes the painting, and it is on Ellis Island. And he said, now, if it's not strange enough, if you go to Google Maps Street View, there's a few specific areas of Liberty Island where the Statue of Liberty is just not there. Not there at all. And then he posts pictures. And yeah, it's cut off.
I got to say this. Conspiracy theories have gotten really stupid and out of hand. I can get behind this one. This was fun again. I miss this kind of conspiracy theory.
I miss them so much.
It's fun. And this is all under the idea that we opened a black hole with the Higgs boson particle, and we didn't even notice we're dead. Like we're in a different reality.
We're all dead.
Yeah. Okay.
Strangely liberating.
Dude, and it gets even crazier. Okay, so
Yodo, you only die once.
Yodo, well, Yoto, maybe. Hold on. Apparently, right before the United States entry into World War I, the Germans committed the first act of terrorism on U.S. soil. Is this news to you guys? Because I never heard about this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what are they talking about?
it was considered one of the largest artificial non-nuclear explosions to have ever occurred in the United States, committed by Germany. What?
I did not know that happened.
And there's an article from a paper, like a newspaper, with the headline. Just crazy. Here's the other thing. This explosion is the reason the Statue of Liberty's torch is closed to the public. It has been closed for over 100 years to the public. No one's allowed in there. Here's the thing, is he posts reviews of the thing, and it's a bunch of people talking about going to the top of the tower in the torch. And then even closer here, it's someone posting a picture of being in the Statue of Liberty torch.
Okay, so is the theory that basically this is from the alternate universe?
Yes. He said
and
that
now
it's
we're
like
in this
residue.
universe and now it's different?
Yeah. It's like residue of things happening. And then there's this great collection
this is
of
so fun.
Dude. And then he has links to all these things in here. They're so fun to go through. But this one is a YouTube video of a collection of Facebook photos where people have tagged their location at Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island. But in all of the photos, people are posing and like gesturing and looking at nothing. There's nothing there.
What?
It's crazy. And then, okay, so back to this. There was a while back, there was a viral thread on 4chan posted by someone who claimed to be one of the 23 scientists at CERN responsible for the Mandela effect. They claimed that the planet was destroyed and we were placed in a simulated world. Crazy. Okay. And whoever this was describing reality as a series of Russian dolls where each simulation lives within another simulation. And this idea comes from, doesn't come from, but it exists in Eastern philosophy since the 3rd century. And there's a quote of Alan Watts describing it. Imagine a multi-dimensional spider's web in the early morning covered with dewdrops. And every dewdrop contains the reflection of all the other dewdrops. And in each reflected dewdrop, the reflections of all the other dewdrops in that reflection. And so ad infinitum. So if one changes, they all change very minutely, you know? And let me get to, because some of this is, I want to strengthen my argument here. But no, and then Terrence McKenna, who can't remember his significance.
Who is this? Who is this guy that this thread?
This is Nick Hinton on Twitter. Hinton. Yeah. This guy, Terrence McKenna, predicted in 2012, not the end of the world, but he predicted a reality rearranging event. And he made this prediction using time wave zero formula, which was supposedly mathematically decoded information from the King Wen sequence of the I Ching into something that graphs the fractal patterns of history. Anyway, and then he has some things that show that time gets shorter as it gets longer, which is quantum shit that I don't understand.
Yeah, same.
But, oh man, I got to keep going. There's just so much here. I want to find the really good ones because there were some that were like, oh, damn. Okay. So he talks about the end of history being a time in which human progress stops. Marx, Hegel, Francis Fukuyama. I'm not sure his significance, but I guess that they're all talking about this event thing happening. 2012 is the end of history, and he admits, he said this doesn't have anything to do with time travel or the simulation or anything, but he's talking about now is the end of it. 2012 is the end of history in that sense. And it's just super fascinating. And I gotta also preface this with, I watched Interstellar the other day for the first time. And I'm sort of like, damn, dude, that's what's up. So he closes out this whole thing with a little summation thing. Perhaps the universe is in a constant cycle of expanding and contracting, the Big Bang and Big Crunch happening over and over, and our souls are just taking a ride on the cosmic Ferris wheel. Thanks for reading. It's a crazy thing.
You got to send us that link because
Yeah,
I want to read into
definitely
that.
need to
That
dig
sounds
into all of those.
fascinating.
But yeah, no, that's one of the best kinds of conspiracy because literally unprovable.
Unprovable.
It literally, like,
the best.
That's what I'm saying is like, it's based on perception and like realities. Like, it's the whole thing of like, are we in the Matrix? Yeah, who knows? Maybe. No way to tell. Like,
That's the thing. If you believe in it, it explains a lot of stuff. It makes me feel better because now I get it. You know, like I get why things are so crappy.
No, but what I like about this is just how detailed they got on like, here's all the weird things around it. You know, he built a whole portfolio
and
of weird stuff.
Which is
I know.
crazy.
That's why I want that link because I want to look into it.
What's super crazy is that he prefaces it all with saying that Stephen Hawking said about the Higgs boson particle that it would destroy our universe.
Yeah, no, and that is a great lead. That is a great lead point.
And of course, I think if you follow that rabbit hole, you get to where it goes.
Yeah.
Shoot.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, I definitely am going to read about that.
Oh, that's fascinating.
It's wacky.
All right. So my last discovery, it's a short one. And is this like the new bit that I've got? Is this like a new story from Japan? Because this is what this is again. It's just another crazy story from Japan. Homeless woman lived in a man's closet for a year.
Ooh. For a year?
Yeah. A homeless woman who, I don't know who wrote this, but snuck is the right word, right? They keep saying sneaked. Who sneaked?
I think snuck. Right? I think snuck is fine too. I think this is one of those ones that everybody thinks. Yeah, everybody thinks that's not snuck because it sounds weird. But I think snuck is fine too.
A homeless woman who sneaked into a man's house and lived undetected in his closet for a year was arrested in Japan after he became suspicious when food mysteriously began disappearing. Police found a 58-year-old woman Thursday hiding in the top compartment of the man's closet and arrested her for trespassing. Police spokesperson, can't pronounce that name, said Friday the resident of the home installed security cameras that transmitted images to his mobile phone after becoming puzzled by food disappearing from his kitchen over the past few months. One of the cameras captured someone moving inside his home Thursday after he had left, and he called police believing it was a burglar. However, when they arrived, they found the door locked and all windows closed. We searched the house, they said, checking everywhere someone could possibly hide. When we slid open the shelf closet, there she was, nervously curled up on her side. The woman told police that she had no place to live and first sneaked into the man's house about a year ago when he left it unlocked. So she had been living there for a whole year in this guy's closet, and he had no idea. And it even talks about like she would even shower and stuff. Like she lived there. That was her home.
I would feel like I was going insane. Like, cause like I'm sure you saw things being like touched. You're like, did I leave that light on? Like,
it's like that movie Parasite.
Yeah, like, it's exactly like Parasite.
Jesus.
It says she had moved a mattress into the small closet space and apparently even took showers. And they called the woman neat and clean. So she literally was living in this guy's house for regularly. A year.
That is crazy.
At least she wasn't a slob. Yeah, that would have been not fun.
It's a very short discovery, but I just thought it was crazy.
No, that's so wild.
Funny. Just a reminder, everyone at home, just do a quick check.
Just do a quick check of the closet.
Check all your closets.
You never know.
Check your rooms. Check in on them.
Yeah, just take a look
never
around.
Know when there might be a 6-year-old lady living up there. You never know.
What are you gonna do? Well, I think that's all of our discoveries for this week. But we hope you catch us again next week. And thanks so much for listening.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you guys next week.
This was a podcast from the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.